Rethinking Heroes, Life After the Military.
I've spent a decade taking a bite out of conspiracy theories, unraveling urban legends, and grappling with worldwide top secret issues.
I've even racked up some of their awards.
Wow, first of all, what a question.
Journalism is about telling the truth, all while ferreting out the bottom line.
I'm a Harrison Hellraiser.
With me, Gary Harrison, as your guide.
Rethinking Heroes, Life After the Military with Harrison.
In this day and age, borrowing money is tough. Now, from listening to this station to really any station and any other listeners, how tight funds can be and how difficult it is simply to make ends meet. The days are gone where you could go in and see your local banker, an actual live, living, breathing human being, an upright mammal banker. Remember those? You might be of an age where you might remember such a thing. Yep, you could walk in a door. There wasn't a guy standing there with a gun. Times were different. You could walk into that guy. You knew his name. He knew you. He sat at a desk, and you could do what was known as regular banking. Today, we're going to talk about how you could be self-sufficient. And this is so critical during life. It's one thing to endlessly do stories about other people, what other people go through, as if life is a giant gossip machine, and much of it is in the US. But when we can help each other and make each other's feet solid, particularly veterans who have no chance to do anything. California even taxes their benefits. It's so shocking and appalling. Many of the other arms of the government aren't even aware of this, but somebody passed this through, made it sound like a great idea. So many of us, whoever we are, have such an extraordinary ladder up which we have to climb that it seems impossible. The world, the economy, geopolitics, so unnavigable, so unpredictable. So I'm going to just start with a story that happened to me. I bought a condo. I never thought I would. I never thought I could. And I happen to have at the time, a really good credit rating. So I bought this condo and I'm paying, let me tell you, these interest rates, I am crushed for the rest of my living life. However, I went to refi it. And this is before the rates went up to 7 point, whatever they are, percent. And they were still at 3%. So I was going to get a refi. And I went to my accountant and I said, okay, here's everything. Let's do a refi. The accountant waited and waited and waited, and the interest rates went up. And I'm yelling at the guy, you've got to file it now. You've got to do it now. These interest rates keep going up and up. And so it was insane. Needless to say, 3 months later, 3 interest hikes later, I finally got this refi, which now makes me basically retail investor. And I'm screwed. It didn't do what it wanted to do. And I didn't know any better. I thought that simply by talking to an accountant and them understanding that they're just going to actually go do it. Guess what? I learned, like you, like me, that we are all at the self-serve pump, that if I don't organize it, I don't motivate it, I don't maintain it, that it's not going to happen. And so it's very important. So borrowing money, getting access to money, without it in the United States, you're dead. Let's pretend, oh, I don't need money in the United States. I can do whatever I want. No, you exist at the pleasure of your credit rating. And now our own Congress is talking about taking that credit rating and pegging your ability to fly on an airplane with your credit rating. Now, that sounds pretty shocking, doesn't it? What is the reasoning they say? Somebody with a low credit rating could be down and out, and they could be dangerous, and they could want to hold up the plane or hijack it or pull out a plastic fork and stick it in the neck of another passenger. Yeah, if you have a low credit rating, you probably are agitated, but it has nothing to do with your travel. But this is part of control. This is not part of actually caring how you act on an airplane. Example, if you have in recent times flown first class or business class, you got upgraded somehow, or maybe you just bought the ticket. You were handled a metal knife in first class and business class, just like the old days, a metal knife. So tell me this, why does someone who pays $200 more on an airplane get a metal knife, whereas someone who does not pay that, pays coach, gets no knife or a plastic knife if you're lucky, or a spork? What evidence do we have that people who pay more cause less problems? I would argue that at the very top, the people controlling this idea of credit ratings, the billionaires, the people that control big pharma, do more damage to society at large with their access than does any normal person who, if you ask them, hey, what would you really like? I'd like some clean water and maybe a decent education for my kids, and probably, like, I'm a woman, I want to walk on the streets and not worry about being raped. Like, that to me would be good, like a safe neighborhood. This is the stuff regular people want. So it's BS when you pay $200 more and you get a metal knife in a plane, but everyone else has to use a spork. That is my analogy. With that comes the game of your credit, your ability or inability to be able to go to a bank, get a loan, and survive, because you can't. It is not available to you, the general person. An actual live, breathing, human, upright mammal banker. Once upon a time, good old days, if you remember the Beverly Hillbillies, there was Mr. Drysdale. Probably not the best example of a banker, but hell, he was over at the Clampett's house begging for money every day, but a live banker. He was an accountable touch point. And I could tell you, as Carrie Harrison here on Rethinking Heroes, rethinkingheroes.com, where you can go and get a free copy of our newsletter, which will include a complete transcript of the discussion you're going to hear on how you can fix your credit rating, how you can improve your credit rating, and how you can get money off of your own credit rating without needing any kind of documentation, a decent job, or anything that they tell you that you have to have. This is a secret that you haven't been given, but a fellow listener who's very smart, very capable, filled with these kinds of insights, has done so much deep digging, started a business, and figured out how normal, regular people could pull this off. Right now, you and I are nothing more than a general irritant to a bank. You get to enjoy hours of AI voice response units, which ultimately will not connect you to anybody with any power to do anything to change the horrible situation you have found yourself in. You call Bank of America, for instance, press 5, press 7, go back to the loop, press star to go back to the main menu. This is not an accident, by the way. A lot of you listening come from a place of power. Just because the station is down and out does not mean the listeners are down and out. If the listeners were all down and out, the station would have disappeared 30, 40 years ago. So many of us have good educations and have pulled it off in life. And we know that at the highest levels, they conspire. I'm going to say it. They conspire. There is a reason that AT&T, formerly known as Pacific Bell, formerly known as Illinois Bell, New Jersey Bell, whatever, used to send you through these basically single mother systems and never empower them to fix your problem. And you would spend 2 hours going around and around and around on your phone bill. They had no power to fix it. You got so pissed off, you hung up, and they knew that most people would just give up, and the company got to keep the money. It's the same thing with these banks. They put you through these voice response units. You go around and around. You get nowhere. Once you do get a live person, they're outsourced. They have no power to fix your problem, and they can barely understand the nuances of it. And it's nuanced problems that are the problem. It's not the easy stuff. Oh, you have the wrong number in my account. It's the nuanced stuff. You told me that I was traveling, I would have travel insurance or assurance if my bag got delayed. Sir, we're sorry, we're not going to cover that because a delayed bag is different from a stolen bag or a lost bag. Please tell me what you mean by that. It's the same thing depending on the situation. Now, you're never going to even get that far. They're just going to say no. So we're going to teach you today how to get a yes. You deserve in your life a yes. You deserve a yes for everything you do. So that's what we're going to be looking at. If you're in Europe, you lose your job, you for 2 years will have the government kick in for your rent. Why? Because they do not, in Paris, in Germany, in Switzerland, in Italy, in Great Britain, they do not want to have sidewalks full of people living on tents, excreting, drawing rats, and literally dying like zombies. Not a good idea. So people know, using their tax money, which means it's not a la carte. It means it's a group policy for literally pennies. They don't have this problem. Nope, done, conquered, handled. Oh, because they handled it. And this, again, gets back to finances. If you lose your job and the government kicks in, so you don't lose your apartment, you do not end up in a tent or having to go get a brand new apartment at market rate, you get to stay where you are. The government helps you eat, feed yourself. Your medical care is completely baked into your system, 100%, and your retirement. Oh my God. You'll never end up on the sidewalk. You'll never end up homeless. You'll never end up starving. The government is not offering you a gift. People rise up in Europe. They rise up and they demand their governments do what the people say. Right now in the United States, 63% of my tax money goes to the military. And what do I get for that? Yeah, that's the sound of dead air. I'm still waiting for the answer. What am I getting for that? Maybe 900 military bases dotted around the world, and all the occupants in those countries not loving me, thinking they're my military bases. But what do I get for that? What happens if I lose my job? I'm self-employed. What happens if I lose my self-employed job? How is that all that money going to the military helping me? Look, more dead air, more non-answer answers, nothing, zero. So it's time for us also to grow up and push this government, especially the ones that say, no, it can't be done. It can't be done. We've never seen an example of a train on tracks that goes from A to B and it's clean inside. Really? A lot of them spend a lot of time in Europe. So that's called a lie. And they need to be busted on that. You and I have great work ahead. We won't do that in this program, but I'm going to teach you how to hold your government accountable and get your needs met. You know, Los Angeles in the 1920s had the best public transportation on the planet. We had electrified trolleys that went from downtown all the way to the ocean for a dime. Took about 20 minutes. It's a nice distance, but a dime. Even in Glendale, you could take a trolley from here to there. If you've ever seen the movie Chinatown, it's all in there. They recreated all of this. Beautiful infrastructure, best in the world, stolen later by Europeans. Like, this is brilliant how they've done it. Then in comes General Motors that builds these things called cars. And on every car is 4 Firestone rubber tires. And so they retire, they pay off the city council. It's called corruption. We have one of the most corrupt city councils in the world. In fact, you ask anyone in the world who is the mayor of Los Angeles, they have no idea. Can you name one of the council people? Nope. How is that possible? The second largest city in America, the media capital of Earth, you don't even know the mayor is? There's a reason for that. Paid off, pulled out all the trolleys, which are half of them are floating on barges off of Long Beach, halfway under salt water now. These are teak, beautiful Pullman cars, all gone. But the tracks exist under the tar. If you go down Santa Monica Boulevard, all the way down to the Pacific Ocean, guess what's along the side of Santa Monica Boulevard? The original railroad tracks from 1916. You could pull the cement up. You could reactivate them. You could put light rail on them, but it's never going to happen. And that's a problem. This is how things are sutured together. This is how the dots are connected. And this is why you need to be empowered to take care of and take charge of your own finances. The transportation stuff, how we get to the government, another lesson for another time. But today, we're going to talk about our sadly, oddly cruel system, despite the fact we invented the European medical system after World War II, where they all get unlimited all-you-can-eat medicine as part of their taxes. We were about to implement it here, except that there was too much profit to be shared, and having many broken toys cost a lot more to fix and was better for the doctors, always at market rates. Because we all know, you, Timmy, Mildred, Jared, Jennifer, me, Carrie Harrison, I will pay anything to stay alive. If we're told we have a chronic disease or we have a really terrible problem, we will pay anything. Sell the house, sell everything. We will pay anything just to stay alive. That's the system, and it knows it. The European systems, which we invented, conquering Germany, France was devastated, Japan was blown to smithereens. We knew cultures could never reemerge if they were all just sick and dying everywhere. So we made sure that their infrastructure, through their taxes, that they would never get in that position again. But we ended up with the Weimar Republic situation. That's the one preceding World War II in Germany that brought rise to fascists, because people were so upset, so in pain. Our version of living in tents in their own excrement on sidewalks as we do in public, it is just so outrageous. So here we are today. Banks are tightening up guidelines or just stopping funding programs altogether. This leaves business owners, like many of you, with very few options in regards to funding. America has some 350 million people. 80% of us are some sort of small business. We're self-employed, or like me, I'm a gig worker. I'm a digital nomad now. Jesus, that's pretty frightening. It's kind of like a diet, and I have lost some weight doing it. So what is really left for you and me? We have to try to find investors. Oh, good luck on that. Pardon me, I'm going to go find some investors. I'll be back in an hour. Or, my favorite, I'll just borrow from friends and family and leverage and ruin our own family's personal credit in order to start to grow a business that I have in my mind that I'm not really going to explain to them because they don't want to know. More dead air, not going to happen. Here's another interesting hard truth. If you want to buy a car or a house, you already know that your credit is a factor that can make or break a deal. Are we lucky to have a deal to deal with credit ratings? Woohoo! Does any of us like it that we're reduced to a series of numbers? No, but being able to navigate those series of numbers going forward, that's the skill set you don't know about. And that's the skill set you're never going to lose. Maybe you think opening a bunch of credit card accounts is going to increase your credit score. That's the answer. I'll just open 50 credit cards. My credit will go through the ceiling and I will be like Donald Trump. The truth is, biting off more than you can chew in this case of credit cards can often result in disaster. Keeping up with all the due dates, let's see, Chase is due on the 30, was that 30-day revolving? What is a revolving cycle? What's a cycle? That's 6 full-time jobs, and if you're late with even one of your payments, you are toast. Maybe you also think that just paying off your loans early will increase your credit score. Ha! Turns out prepayments don't affect your credit score at all. But they didn't teach me this. They didn't teach anyone this. Paying off your installment debt won't fix your credit score at all. It's actually, get this, and it's hard, it's better for you to keep the debt open and pay it off regularly each month. That means holding tons of debt, but paying it off regularly each month. It's counterintuitive, but this is the only way you're going to build a credible history of on-time payments. All this to say, you are learning the inside track, and I'm about to bring on the world's greatest expert who is going to be offering you something that you've never had access to before. I'm about to introduce you to a woman hero who has found a way through this miasma of misery. Oh, I like that. Let me write that one down. Through this miasma of misery that so many millions of us continue to encounter and leaves so many hopeless. She's been a public radio listener for many years. She's actually found the educational resources to put together something to help the rest of us, especially during these times when money is tight, if not impossible, for so many of us. You're going to hear about something you're not taught in school. It's not discussed on financial shows on TV. And for decades, it's been the secret that the most successful entrepreneurs have used. And we're going to rescue you today. I've always been a huge fan of life hacks, And a shortcut that can improve anyone's situation is one that needs to be freely shared. Let me introduce you to Sara Weldon with TruFinCo. She's going to teach you how to access funding that doesn't require any financial documentation, no taxes, income or employment verification. What? Yes, here in the United States. And the very rich are doing it. They're getting away with it. That's how they get away with it. You need to know their secret. This makes it a perfect choice for both startups and established businesses instead of this type of funding relying entirely on the strength of your personal credit score and profile. And with that kind of strong credit that you can build, you'll be able to leverage that to get you up to 150 grand in business credit that comes at, ready for this? 0% interest for up to 2 years. What? Interest rates are like 7, 9%. Nope. Not through her. She's figured it out. She's like you. She's like me. She couldn't take it anymore. And she went and she figured out, so how are these rich people doing it? And she's going to give us that secret. Business credit doesn't reflect on personal credit. What? Yep. Which means as you use it, you don't ruin your personal credit. And it is Rethinking Heroes, rethinkingheroes.com. Carrie Harrison with your new best friend. Boy, have I admitted more personal, intimate stuff to you in the last half hour, but I love it because I trust you and we have to trust each other. This is it. This is Hotel Earth and everyone gets a room. And we are one human family. And anyone who doesn't believe that, you are off, isolated, and you will wither. Stay in the middle of the herd, you will survive. Step off to the side, you'll get picked off by the nearest lion. This is the middle of the herd. And today and right now, we're going to say hello to Sara Weldon. And I want to welcome you to Rethinking Heroes as you have come up with a route that can save so many thousands of our listeners from the incredible doom they're already seeing in their lives. And there is a reversal. Thank you, Sara. Welcome.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm so excited to be here. And what a warm welcome you gave me. I need you to introduce me every time I do anything.
You may be 100 years old by the time I finish my introductions, but it's hard to lay the stage of what we're talking about because no one's heard of this. I'm one of those people. I happen to run across you and I'm like, what is she talking about? You mean the bank won't give me money? No refi, nothing. I'm screwed. I can't do anything. And she says, no, there's a way to do it. You just have to do it like rich people do it. I'm like, what do you mean like rich people do it? What, they drive in? Is it a drive-through? Do they do it on a yacht? No, it's how they do it. They know the secret. Let's jump right into that, Sara Weldon. It's called credit stacking. What the heck is that?
And you hit it right on the head, Carrie. None of us know about it. We never learned about it at school. You certainly would never hear about it if you asked your bank about it. It's not talked about on mainstream media. And you talk to most people, they have no idea what it is. So it's definitely been kept in the dark, but it truly is the key to success and being able to do things without your local bank and being able to do things without providing financials. So really what it is called capital stacking. It works best with business credit. And just like you said, business credit is like invisible debt. Yes, you have to pay it, but it doesn't show up on your personal credit. So really with capital stacking, what we're doing is we're stacking business credit. It all typically is at 0% for up to 2 years, which makes it the cheapest capital I know of out there. And it's a really amazing way to get large amounts of capital without having to provide financials. And it can be used for anything. So it's, in my mind, the absolute best way you can fund a new business, grow a business, whatever you want to do. There's nothing like it.
So just to help my eardrums, which are still horripilating in anticipatory delight, pretty much anybody can have business credit. So I have business credit and let's say it's lousy. It does not affect my personal credit, which is the one that I need to do the regular stuff in life.
It's not weird. I mean, if you think about it, you want to keep your business separate from your personal. That's the biggest key. And the biggest mistake so many of us make, I made it, I didn't know any better, We tend to fund our business all with our personal credit because we don't know any better. We can't get a loan from the bank. So we just completely bury ourselves in personal debt, which then ruins our personal credit and then ties us in with our business, which is definitely something we need to avoid.
We're going to have some elderly people. We're going to have people in their 20s, people listening to the live stream, might even be in their teens. We've got a cross-platform blend of all kinds of people listening to this as a podcast, as a radio signal. They're driving. It's a bunch of different kinds of people who can use this kind of funding.
Everybody. And that's why I love it. This type of funding does not discriminate whether you are young, whether you are old. It doesn't discriminate whether you even have a job. That's the beautiful part about it. It gives us all an equal level playing field, whether you're a multimillionaire or you're working a minimum wage job. It's all an equal playing field because what it's looking at and all it's looking at is the strength of your personal credit. What kind of a borrower are you? And that's what enables you to get this high limit business credit. That's the beautiful part about this is it really is for everybody.
So let's break this down so that we can understand what it is. It still seems a little vague, only because this is your world.
Absolutely.
I'm an English major, so anytime you mention math, I glaze over, throw up, and pass out. But walk me through, what's the process here?
Yeah, so really capital stacking, I'm going to break it down for you in a way that's so easy to understand. So the typical business owner, let's say you start your business and you think, you know what, I'm going to go get a business card. You'll go out, you'll apply to say American Express. And depending on several factors, you might get approved for several $1,000s and woohoo, you get excited. So you think, I'm on a roll. I'm going to go apply for 5 more business credit cards because I need as much money as possible. So you go out, you apply, you don't really have a plan, and you end up getting 5 more inquiries and you get denials. And the reason why is because all of these credit card companies, they're seeing, hey, Carrie has new debt. He has a new inquiry. We're not going to give him any more money. So the way that
Oh, you sound
capital
like
stack-
them.
I know I do. You know what? And I hate being told no. So that's why this is such a great thing. It's a very systematic approach. There's a fine science to it, but really you have to understand which credit card companies pull from which bureaus. So whether they pull from TransUnion, Equifax, however that works, that's what you have to understand. And we apply in such a manner that one doesn't see the other. So we'll start with applying for American Express, pulling from TransUnion, and then apply for a Discover. And we know which ones pull from which bureaus. And the easiest way to understand this is like we're playing a game of hide and seek, but with credit cards. And that's the real secret is because they don't see each other, they are all apt to give you an approval and a high amount. And so you stack that together, and that's where you come up with these $150,000 amounts of capital. And none of it requires any financials. So that's why there's such beauty behind this type of funding.
We're talking to Sara Weldon. She is with TruFinCo. She is one of the big cheeses in the world of this, a regular normal person who figured out the special alchemy that she's talking about. Carrie Harrison with you. This is Rethinking Heroes, rethinkingheroes.com. And, you know, the obvious question I have to ask, because we are FC regulated and hiding one credit card from another, I get what you're saying. This is completely legal. This is how the big boys do it. Like, these credit bureaus are about as useful as an insurance company. They're invented, creative something or others that look and make a decision, publish it, and suddenly we're stuck with their determination. But like an insurance company with medicine, you actually don't need them in order to get medicine. You could just go to a doctor. I know it's crazy, but we have these credit bureaus that actually act in our orbit. They are the Death Star, and they decide what our numbers are, and we're stuck with it. You basically maybe put up a mirror in outer space so that it reflects back on the Death Star and it can't see the other Death Star. And it's completely legal, and it's what the big boys are doing. Am I somewhat close?
Absolutely. I actually like your description of it with the Death Star. It is completely legal. And I should have began with that. It is a completely legal way of doing this. It's been around for decades, absolutely decades. but it hasn't been talked about. It's been what the best entrepreneurs have used to get where they are using other people's money. And most people this day and age that know about it, they make you buy an ebook or watch their course to learn about how to do it. So what I've done is I really want everybody to have access to this and understand the possibilities of this. So I'm educating people and I'm trying to do it in a way that everybody can understand. I'm not using big fancy bank terms. I'm trying to help everybody be able to understand that yes, you can access this and you can make this work for you. And in my mind, the more people that know this, the better. Because the more we can break away from the banks and find ways to be successful, that's my goal.
Let's jump into another issue here. Is there a cost to do this? That would be the next logical question.
To do this type of capital stacking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Absolutely, you can do this on your own. You can do a lot of research and try and do it. But typically, we find that most people fail, and we're able to get about 3 to 8 times the amount that you could get on your own. So, yes, of course, borrowing money is never free. However, rather than having underwriting fees and the typical bank loan fees that pile up, there's a one-time success fee, but it's paid at the back end. So it's paid after you receive your funding. You can pay for it with the funding. It's 9.9% of the funded amount. It's a great tax write-off. And I do all types of funding. And I'm going to be honest with you, when you pencil out the numbers, there is no cheaper funding, none. Even term loans, lines of credit, this pencils out to be a much better way to go.
So we're looking at accessing funding that doesn't require any financial documentation. I'm going to repeat that because I'm reading this here. We're funding that doesn't require any financial documentation, no taxes, income, or employment verification. I read that verbatim. True or false?
True. And that's the best part about it. And that's what makes everyone's jaw drop. And I'm going to be honest with you, Carrie, most people, even people that have been in the finance world, don't even know this. And I'm on the phone with them all the time. And I'll be honest, it makes my day when I blow their mind and they tell me, Sarah, I've been in this industry for years. I do multi-million-dollar transactions. You've blown my mind. I've been doing it all wrong this whole time. I'm absolutely going to change my direction and focus and do this. So it's pretty powerful.
And Sara Weldon, you're able to leverage this whole alchemy and get up to maybe 150 grand in business credit that comes in at 0% for 2 years. Now, how's that possible when the credit rating, if you went out and just got a credit card, it might be 0%. It's not going to be zero. Nothing is 0%, but this is 0% for up to 2 years. How is this possible?
So a lot of business cards, they entice their people with or new clients with offering 0% for up to 2 years as an introductory period. So we go after all the ones that offer that. And one might be 15 months, one might be 18. But there's a real strategy behind extending that. And I work with people and teach them this strategy. And you can do a balance transfer strategy to extend that 0% for years beyond that. And when you're at 0%, it's incredibly cheap capital. You're looking at a minimum payment of $100 for every 10,000. That's why it's beautiful for startups, because when you're struggling, you're just getting the doors open, you've got all your bills piling up. That's a very minimal payment as opposed to pulling out a line of credit or a term loan that's going to be thousands of dollars a month. That's what makes this so unique.
And with your special process here, where you've learned from the topmost professional people and brought it down to the normal folks down here, where we can pull this off, the application takes like less than 20 seconds. It's a soft pull to apply, so it doesn't hurt your credit. And then you're able to give them some kind of funding offer or a decline, whichever, within 24 hours. And then going forward requires almost no documentation, proof of identity, just info. That's it. It's so simple. No wonder they don't tell us about it.
I know, right? Because it would really, honestly, if more people knew about this, there'd be a lot less people trying to get loans from banks if they knew how painfully simple this is. But that's why I love it. And that's why I will shout it from the rooftops until everybody knows about this.
In fact, many savvy, this is where the real estate people do it. And boy, do they do it. Real estate investors use it to purchase investment properties. Let's jump on that for 20 seconds, Sarah.
Yeah, so this is where you can really get creative. With real estate investing, the biggest hangup is the down payment. So what a lot of savvy investors are doing is they're taking this business credit, because remember, it's very affordable, 0%. They're liquidating it. They're using it for their down payment. Now, this can only be done when you're working with private lenders, which I think are better than working with the banks, but to each their own. But when you work with private lenders, you can use borrowed funds for your down payment. So they're using it for the down payment. They're using it for unexpected rehab costs, turn around, flip the property, pay it off. You keep doing it, wash, rinse, and repeat.
So you were saying earlier, Sarah, that the only thing that people really have to do once they get this is they have to just pay off the credit cards, like the minimum rate or something, just to keep it moving. And if you do that, you're good.
Yeah, so just like a regular personal credit card, you're going to have a minimum monthly payment that's due. And while I don't recommend always staying forever at the minimum payment, obviously times are challenging. That minimum payment is extremely low, but it's just like that. And you can certainly keep it beyond the end of the 0% period. I don't ever recommend closing a credit card. You want that history, but the key is really balance transferring and using other 0% business credit cards to really keep that capital very affordable.
We're talking right now to Sara Weldon here on Rethinking Heroes. We're giving you, regular people, me, regular people, the same information that the very rich have been using, that is completely legal and has allowed them to do whatever they want, no matter how tough the times are. And the times have never been tougher. We're learning about the methods that the top entrepreneurs have used for years to build their empires. It's nothing new. It's just not talked about in the mainstream world of funding. Did you ever hear about capital stacking and business credit when you were in school? No. Did your banker ever talk to you about it? No. And there's no limits on what it can be used for. Your favorite way might be real estate investing, which is hugely popular in Los Angeles. There are no industry restrictions, no document funding, no tax returns, no bank statements or income verification. What? That's right. And it's perfect for startups. Your business doesn't even have to be open yet. If you're a tech guy or you want to create something that helps somebody else, this is the way you can fund it. And the funding is based on a credit score and a profile, not on income amounts up to 150K, and it's 0% interest for up to 2 years. And you can use a balance transfer strategy to extend for years beyond that. You can find out what you'll qualify with no hard injury or inquiry rather, which is an injury. Funding others within 24 hours. Funding can take place within 2 to 3 weeks, and it comes in the name of your LLC, not your personal name. So you remain golden, and business credit doesn't reflect on personal credit like hidden debt. Sara Weldon, I want to thank you so much. Is there anything that I have left out that you'd like to leave us with?
I think you've covered it well, and I think you describe it even better than me. Nope, I think you've covered it. I just really want to stress that this is just an amazing way for you to break free from the confines of the bank and the little box that we've all been living in for our whole lives. It's a way, yes, you have to open your mind and be a little creative, but I'm telling you from firsthand experience, it's life-changing. And I've personally witnessed so many people start and grow businesses using this type of funding. And the success stories are just, they're heartwarming. It's why I do what I do. There's nothing I enjoy more.
We appreciate you coming on Rethinking Heroes today, and you are a hero. Any listener that does this for her fellow listeners is a hero with a capital H. Carrie Harrison with you. This is Rethinking Heroes. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Listen while it's still legal.
Rethinking Heroes with Carrie Harrison. RethinkingHeroes.com.